In Jamaica, the opposition wants the government to up the ante against crime and violence. Opposition leader Andrew Holness is calling for the government to fast-track the passage of the DNA legislation. Holness argues that the legislation is critical to effective crime fighting. He also wants the legislation to mandate DNA samples from an accused upon arrest.
Mr. Speaker, I urge the government to fast-track the passage of the DNA legislation with provisions for the creation of a DNA database and the mandatory taking of DNA samples from accused persons upon arrest. In the recent Irwin case, it is instructive, Mr. Speaker, DNA evidence does not only convict criminals, but it serves to protect the innocent. Mr. Speaker, the government must give the police the modern tools to do their jobs. Mr. Speaker, there should be no further delay in implementing an island-wide registration and identification system. This is necessary to assist the police in establishing identity generally and reduce instances where criminals mislead the police regarding their identity.
Mr. Holness was speaking recently in Parliament as he made his contribution to the budget debate. Meanwhile, the opposition leader also bemoaned what he described as a growing trend of young girls being sexually abused by adults. He made reference to 14-year-old Kellysia Simpson and Santoya Campbell. Both teens were allegedly murdered by the men who impregnated them. Mr. Holness is urging police officers to effectively use the law to nab perpetrators. He pointed to the Sexual Offences Act, which indicates sexual grooming as illicit.
The police need to start putting in place, whether it is a sting operations or surveillance, and start to arrest and convict persons who are having illegal and illicit relationships with minors. Mr. Speaker, we cannot as a society allow our children to be abused and murdered. And as you know, Mr. Speaker, I talk straight. Enough man vex because we said that.
And the opposition leader is also calling on the society to speak out against the culture against child abuse. He says too often children are preyed upon by persons well known to them.
There is a culture, a subculture in our country that tolerates, accepts, sees nothing wrong with an adult having sexual relations with a minor. It cannot, Mr. Speaker, be tolerated. And the Parliament, Mr. Speaker, the Parliament must speak with one voice against this issue.